everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kendra and today I'll be doing a enemies to lovers recommendation video. This is probably one of my favorite romance tropes and I have about 5 books I'd like to share with you today. And the first book that I want to talk about is The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. This is about Calla and her dad. They have never had a great relationship, but she finds out that he has cancer, so she ends up flying to Alaska to hopefully get to know him. And her father owns a small bush pilot company. So when she gets there, she ends up taking a very small plane to where he lives, which is a remote area in Alaska. And the pilot that flies her is Jonah, and he is a complete jerk. So this is about not only her getting to know her father and hopefully making their relationship better, but also about Calla and Jonah because they absolutely hate each other because Jonah is such a jerk to her. I loved this book so much, not only because of the enemies to lovers trope, but also the family dynamics in this book was absolutely amazing. And I would have to say the last quarter of this book, I was full on sobbing. So I absolutely loved every single character in this book. I connected so well to Calla and I loved Jonah after he stopped being a jerk. So yeah, I really love this book. If you have not read this one, I highly recommend it. The next book that I'm going to talk about is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This one went around booktube a few years ago and that's really when I read this book and I absolutely loved it. And this is about Lucy and Josh. They both work for a publishing company and their companies end up merging together. So they end up having to work with each other. They are both assistants to their CEOs. So when a new promotion is announced, they both are competing for the same position. And however, it's super tense between each other, but as time goes on, they start finding out that they both have feelings for each other. So I really loved this book when I read it a couple years ago. I loved the banter between Josh and Lucy. I loved how they would fight against each other, and I really love how it was set in an office atmosphere. I really found that very interesting, and because they always had to work with each other, so they were always around each other. But when they ended up finding out they had feelings for each other, I just loved the chemistry between these two characters. This is probably one of the first books that I ever read with enemies to lovers, so I really loved it. I really loved how this book made me laugh, and I just love the banter between the two characters, and their chemistry was definitely spot on. So if you haven't read this one yet, I definitely recommend checking this one out. The next book that I want to talk about is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I read this book in the summer of last year and loved this one. This is about Olive. Her twin sister is about to get married, and her soon-to-be husband's brother is the best man, and they absolutely hate each other. So at the wedding reception, Olive and Ethan do not eat the buffet for whatever reason. I'm gonna say Ethan was super picky and Olive was allergic to shellfish, I believe, so they didn't eat the buffet. However, everyone else did, and everyone else ended up getting really bad food poisoning. So her sister and her new husband can't go on their honeymoon, and it's like a non-refundable honeymoon. So Olive and Ethan go on the honeymoon in Hawaii, and they have to pretend that they are newlyweds, so they have to spend a lot of time together. So as time goes on, they start kind of liking each other, and I just really love this one a whole lot. I loved how it was set in Hawaii. I thought that was so fun. And like I said, I read it in the summertime, which was a perfect time to read this book. I felt like the banter between these two characters was absolutely hilarious. They were so funny. I was literally laughing out loud in this book, and I usually don't really laugh out loud in books, so this one definitely was super funny, and their relationship was really cute. So if you're looking for a more lighthearted rom-com enemies to lovers, you should definitely check out this book. The next book that I want to talk about is Coming Up Roses by Stacey Hart. This is the first book in the Bennett Brothers series, and this is about Tess. She works for a local florist, and the florist isn't doing too well financially, so the owner of the florist has all of her kids come home to help with the floors to get it back in good financial standing. Well, one of the brothers, Luke, Tess does not like at all because they have a past. So when they were in high school, Tess and Luke were at the same party and they ended up kissing, and Luke claimed he was too drunk to remember any of this, and he ends up hooking up with her best friend. So of course that's a no-go. She does not like him after that. So when Luke shows up at the florist to work, she is not a happy camper. So I really love the floral aspect of this book. I thought that was so much fun, and the banter between Luke and Tess was really good. And I also loved how this one was also a second chance romance as well as an enemies to lovers. So I thought that was a lot of fun because they already knew each other. But overall, I really loved this book. I loved both of their characters and the chemistry between them, and like I said, it being in a florist was really fun. So if you haven't read this book, I definitely recommend picking it up. And the last book that I like to recommend is Top Secret by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy. And this is about Keaton. His girlfriend wants a threesome for her upcoming birthday. So Keaton gets on this website called kink.com and finds a male partner for their upcoming threesome session. So before the main event, Keaton and this guy, they keep talking back and forth to each other on this website, and they start having a little bit of like a relationship in a way. So when the main event comes up, the guy that comes to have a threesome with them, he opens the door and he finds out that it is his frat brother Luke that he does not like. So now it's really awkward, but since Keaton and Luke are in way too deep now, they definitely have feelings for each other, and it is their relationship. So I really loved this book a lot. I loved how this one was set in college. I usually don't read many books that are set in college, so I thought that was really fun. And I've read Elle Kennedy and Serena Bowen's previous male-male romances and absolutely loved it, and this one was no different. Loved the relationship between Luke and Keaton, and also in this book, Luke is a male stripper, so I thought that was really fun and pretty freaking hot. So I really liked that about this book, and I really loved the relationship between Luke and Keaton, especially since they hated each other and they knew each other the whole entire time because they lived in the same house. So I thought that was really fun. So overall, I really loved this book. If you are into new adult college romances and male-male romances, I definitely recommend picking this book up. So those are all 5 books that I recommend that have an enemies to lovers trope in it. If you've read any of these books, let me know in the comments, and also let me know of any other enemies to lovers books that you really like so I can check out. And until then, I will see you in my next video. Bye!